Hi, this is Dan Scheffelman. I'm going to give you guys a little tutorial on how to set up your AR chalk image. I just wanted to sort of take you through one way of doing this to demystify the whole process. There's a few ways you can do it. Basically, anything that you know about animation tools, whether it's working in Photoshop or After Effects or Adobe Animate or any other app that you know, or combination of apps that can do this. All you need to be doing is creating a QuickTime based upon your chalk piece. And so I did this as a demonstration. Obviously, doesn't have anything to do with the theme this year, unless I'm saying that humans are going to become onion heads in the future. But so what I've done is just set up a Photoshop file with my base layer. And by the way, I'm showing you this timeline here, which you don't have to use if you don't know how to use it. It's a sort of clumsy Photoshop way of animating, but it's been used to make film, so it can work. My preference is to create this and then to output the layers into JPEGs and then bring that into Adobe Premiere. If you've had my class, my storyboarding class, you've done all this. It's kind of a no-brainer. For you, if you have not worked with these applications, it's really not that complicated, believe it or not. So here's my base layer, and this would be the image that would be my chalk piece. So this would be on the wall. This is the marker that signals to the phone and to the app that it's time to play the animation. So what I want to do is create a little QuickTime that animates from this original pose, because the idea is you want it to come to life. Whatever you're having happen, you want it to come to life from this image. Now, I've done a pretty simple animation. It could even be simpler than this. It could literally just be from this to this, just 2 drawings, okay? But I've really done like 6 drawings to make it a little bit more engaging than that, and also to allow me to add sound, which is pretty cool. So basically, you see my layers. I have the first layer is the base drawing, then he blinks, eyes open, looking at you, just a sort of classic cartoon trick of changing eye direction. Then says hello. Okay, one mouth position, not getting crazy with it. Could have gotten into a whole lip syncing thing, but I'm trying to show how simple this can be. And then 2 wave positions. Okay, so that's it. That's all I've done. Now, let's get rid of the timeline. Now I'm not going to use the timeline anymore. Okay, I'm just going to go straight layers here. So I have all of my layers turned off. My base layer here. What I'm going to do is just flatten these as JPEGs so that I'll have individual poses. So I would take this, I would do a save as, and I would call it JPEG 1. Okay, I'm going to put it in a new folder. Save it to there. Get this menu, say OK. And now I'm going to turn on my next layer. Okay, so now I have my eyes closed layer. I'm going to do a save as on that. And by the way, by calling it JPEG, I automatically flatten it so that I'm not dealing with a bunch of layers. Put it in there. I'm going to call it O2. Now remember, you could be doing this all in After Effects. You could be doing it a totally different way. The end result is just that you want to be getting animation. Okay, so let's say I went ahead and did all that, which I've already done. Flatten all the layers. Now I'm going to close out of Photoshop. So I'm gonna open Premiere now. Okay, so it's already set up, and I can take you through the process of setting up also if you need help with that, but most of you have done this either in Premiere or you've done this in After Effects, so pretty much however you're getting to this point is up to you. So basically what I've taken all of my panels and I put them into Premiere and I recorded a little voice. So I've created I recommend keeping this pretty brief because people are going to be walking down these murals with their phone, pointing it at your image and getting a little animation. So I think if we have 50 that are done this way, 2 to 3 seconds is about the most that you want to do. And remember that you're doing something that either would end with a wave or loop as one thing. So it could just be eyes blinking and looping. I'll show you how to do that. But for now, I'm just going to say the person's going to walk, the viewer's going to walk by my piece, point the phone at that, and get. I'll show you what they're going to get. They're going to get this.
Hi.
Okay, so now I've created that. I'm just going to do the way you render out any project. I'm going to export media. And I generally like to go with H.264 as your codec, which is just the compression of your file. Export video and audio. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to format your video to add a layer of stone texture. That way it sort of makes a seamless transition between what's on the wall and what plays on the app. So what I've done is I've gotten a JPEG of one of the walls. I will provide these for you. So you can actually, if you want to get crazy about this, you can actually find the panel on the wall and bring that in and use that. You can also just use sort of a general stone texture and you'll get a pretty good effect. So I'm just dragging this JPEG over on top of my video. I've just I'm just bringing in my video, not the full edit in Premiere, but I just brought in the MP4 into another Premiere project, just make things easier. So you see the texture is on the top layer. It's a little small, so I'm just going to size it up. I'm going to say this is my panel right here. Fill the frame with it so that it roughly fits the size of the panel. Now I'm going to go over to opacity. So if you want to be sure you have effect controls open, and a normal Premiere setup, that should be over here. If you don't have your Premiere workspace, you want to be sure you're in editing. You see here it says editing. So I'm going to go to opacity and blend mode. So this is just like Photoshop. I'm just going to say we're doing a multiply layer. All right, so if you look at the effect of this is that it just kind of throws a little bit of a texture on top of your video. That way, when you play it, it won't feel like you're popping to suddenly, a flat 2D graphic, if that's how you created it. Okay, so that's a quick and dirty way to do this. Now, I just want to show you outputting here because the last video, the first part of the video doesn't really have that. So let's say you've done this, you're all set. Your sequence, basically, if you did this the right way, you brought your original base layer in and you drag it into the timeline over here. It should have sized your timeline to the size of the image, and the image should be 2000 pixels high. Okay, this is not a hard and fast rule, but to get a good image on your phone, I like to overshoot a little bit. Okay, so in sequence settings, you have 2000 pixels high, 1000 wide. Some of you have slightly different proportions, so I would just make sure your height is around 2000. Okay, custom editing mode will say probably custom, because it's not a standard video format. 29.97 frames per second should work. So, okay, so when you render out, now again, you might be doing this out of After Effects, and you can do the same texturing trick with After Effects. Make sure it's H.264. That's the one thing that is important. Other than that, I think it's pretty simple. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to, you don't really have to do this part of it, but I think it's a good thing for you to see. Okay, I'm going into Erlen Manager. So Erlen is the app that we'll be using. It may be that a couple of you will have you help me do this, but chances are I'll probably do most of these. Okay. So this is the Erlen portal that allows us to put everything together so that this works. So I'm going to load an existing campaign. So the campaign is the general portal that will contain everything for Chalk FIT for 2019.
Hi.
And as you can see, I've already done this. Okay, so I've already set this up. What you're looking at now is the JPEG that I made before. I've uploaded it. It's a trigger, and it's called Onion Head. Now the content that's connected to that is the Onion Head video. Okay, so basically it's going to do that. All right, and the reason I mentioned that you need your JPEG to be exactly the same height as your video is that when I import them, they line up perfectly. So I don't have to mess around with some of these settings, which are interesting, but not something you want to always have to deal with. So I'm showing you the video is on a different layer, and I had to sort of key it. I would have to key it exactly to register it, but if you make it the same size, it comes in exactly registered. All right, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to switch over to my phone. So we're cutting to my phone here. I'm going to record what happens. So I'm going to open the app.
Hi.
There you have it.